Hey everyone, Sierra here, and welcome back to Stay Positive. That's my radio voice. I know we took a week off there, but we're back, so tell all your friends to hop back on board because we're back. I'm happy to report that we had a very successful Harvest Moon 2, Harvest 2 Moon, the sequel, It was a fun stand-up show, and we're going to keep doing it, so I'm going to keep plugging it. Get ready. In personal news, I downloaded this app. I got coerced into, I think it was an ad. Yeah, it was definitely an ad. Ads work sometimes. I got coerced into downloading this app that basically was kind of about morning routine. And so it was supposed to help you gain more energy by doing certain morning routines for so many days straight. Okay, so I downloaded it. And it's you kind of have to in order to use it at all, you have to subscribe. So it's free for the first 7 days, but then $60 after that for the whole year or whatever. $60. Okay. So then I'm like, okay, well, 7 days, whatever. We could just try for 7 days. And if it's really amazing, maybe. But then all it is it tells me okay, drink water in the morning. But then you have to do that for 3 days straight in order to unlock more morning routine stuff where it tells you, maybe it tells you how to make a checklist or do meditation or whatever. And it's well, okay, I'm going to run out of days, free days. And all you're telling me is drink water. Yeah. So anyway, app's not worth it. But what it did remind me of is morning routine is important. So if anyone has any special morning routine stuff, DM me. And I think it would be cool to get some crowdsourcing on what you guys do in the morning because it's kind of cool and important for energy throughout the day. Today, the guest on the podcast is a really cool person, a friend, somebody who's also has her own podcast that's really big right now. It's called Coup and the Gang. I was a guest on it about a year ago, and it was really fun, so obviously I had to have her on mine, even though, not as much of a following, let's be real. But she is a comedian, somebody who I had seen her videos before I really got into stand-up, so it was just cool once we actually met and became friends, and she's killing it out there. Stand-up comedian, actor, voice actor, host, obviously podcaster. So she's got a great point of view, lots of fun things we chatted about. And one of the fun things we chatted about was cold calling friends on the phone just to chat, which doesn't really happen anymore because I think we are all very strict about our schedules, so we kind of avoid that, or at least I do. I don't want to mess up anybody or interrupt somebody's day. But then it's they can also not answer the phone and it'll be totally fine. And she makes a great point about all that stuff in the podcast. We talk about it. But fun fact, after we were done recording, she did call me the following day or a couple of days later, and it was she did kind of say she was going to do that just to get me used to the idea, and she followed through. So that's a legit friend and podcast guest. Anyway, hope you enjoy my interview with Esther Coup. All right. Hi, Esther. Thanks for coming out here to Echo Park.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday afternoon.
You know what? I looked at the signs on your street. It says no parking Friday from 12 to 2 or whatever.
Right. Street cleaning.
You should never have a podcast during those parking hours.
That's true, because then everybody crowds to the other side, and then it's an absolute disaster. So I can never ask any.
Yeah, don't ever schedule that Friday slot. Just keep that in mind, right?
Yeah, that little slot is.
Because you don't want to invite somebody to do your podcast, and then they get towed. And then it costs them $300 to do your podcast. Oh.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely not an expense that anybody wants. But also, I mean, that's why I don't invite people over during those hours. Those hours are isolated time.
Good.
But I used to. So when I lived here, when I didn't live here, but my boyfriend lived here, and I would visit him. Mm-hmm. I'd have to really get good at all the signs around here to park and all the things, and I would get so many tickets because there's a hill right here where 4 hours before any Dodger Stadium event, you can't park there unless you have a permit. And I don't know what the schedule is. That's so amorphous.
Oh, wow.
So I'd have to check the calendar online, but then sometimes they wouldn't post everything online because it wouldn't just be Dodger games. It'd also be concert events.
Oh my God, how are you supposed to know when there's a Dodgers game?
I don't know. Why did I even date my boyfriend when he lived here? Crazy. But yeah, so I do know the area quite well parking-wise. But yeah, you're right. Thursday's the other side of the road. So Tuesday, here we are. That's why.
Okay, good.
I'm glad you picked Tuesday because
me too.
clearly otherwise it would have been no car for Esther. But yeah, and you were just in Florida. So how was that? I know we talked about it on the way up here, but
it was good. Yeah. It's funny because I'll post a picture and then like somebody will text me like, "Oh, I had a horrible time at that club," and it's like, I said, "Why?" And they were like, "Oh, because the people just didn't like me." And I'm like, "Well, they like me, you know."
How are you supposed to respond to that?
Everybody's different for, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like
of course,
we all
it's
have
so
like
subjective,
different kinds of people who like come out to our shows and stuff. And I don't know, like, okay, well, that's cool.
Oh,
like,
I mean, it's so subjective.
thanks for letting me know. Like,
I know. I mean, I thought it would be one reason if it's like, oh, well, like the plumbing was leaking and the whole building collapsed while I was on stage. Okay, then that's something that everybody could relate to. But people not liking you, it's different people every night. It's also different comedy. Your humor is gonna be different from that person. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's not the same people who came to my show who went to his show.
No, I mean maybe, but probably not. I'm sure there's a lot of people in that area. And they're going to comedy on different nights. But I'm glad to hear it went well. Obviously, a big part of our business is like selling merch and stuff. Actually, I personally, as much as I talked like I knew what you were talking about, I've never sold merch. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Have I? I don't think so. The only time I ever really did anything similar was like, collect emails for a newsletter or...
Well, that's really good.
Pass out business cards or whatever. But, like, that's as far as I get. Because, I mean, I don't do a lot of touring at all anyway because I don't know.
Now I started passing out postcards.
Ooh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
so they can
because
send
I
it.
did a photo shoot that was really fun. So I printed out one of those photos on like a 4x7, 4x6.
Yeah.
I think, or a 5x7. And I just passed those out so that, people can remember my name.
Yeah.
So that the next year I go, they're like, "Oh, she was so funny, let's go." And they remember.
Totally.
It's just like a little tool. And so I think it was good. I'm happy I'm doing that.
Yeah, that's another way to like get your face out there,
Yeah.
Do you feel like, so you recently did the AVN Awards hosting?
Yes.
Do you feel like that actually got you a lot more people to come out because they knew about?
Well, it hasn't
are
aired
fans
yet.
of that? Oh, okay, right. You're right.
So
you did tell me because I guess award shows are normally live, but I knew it wasn't gonna be live, but I didn't know it was that delayed. So when will that air?
It's coming out I think next month. What is it? April right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's coming out next month.
Okay, cool. So that'll be a big wave of new fans.
Yeah.
A specific kind of fan. AVN fans. No, but that's good. That's why you're hired to host because, like, you have good appeal to all folks.
People who watch porn.
Yeah, why not? You know? A lot of, everybody does.
No,
right?
but the porn awards, they're really fun because, like, porn stars don't really take themselves too seriously. Like, when you watch the Oscars, like, people are sitting on edge and, like, it's, like, do or die. It's, like, they zoom in on Morgan Freeman's face if he didn't win. Like,
I never noticed until, like, this year.
It's really intense.
Yeah.
The Oscars are really intense. It's, like, that's the highest level like winning an Oscar, right? What's higher than that?
Nothing for actors, right?
Yeah. So whereas porn stars, like, they are pretty funny, actually. Like,
good.
The fact that like they cry over like winning, I think that's so funny. It's really funny to watch.
Wait, so there were tears from winners, or fake tears, or
I don't know because I haven't watched it.
Oh, okay. Like, I guess backstage you couldn't tell necessarily.
You know how it is. Like, you're just back.
Everything's crazy. Like,
and I'm not watching what's going on. I'm like looking at the sheet going, when am I up next?
Right, of course.
Of course. So that's why I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, and see how it came together if there were porn tears. But that's exciting still. And, like, what was it like finding out that you got that? Because that was the first time, right, that you'd hosted that one?
Yeah, you know what? I had a meeting with the producer, and then I just made sure before the meeting to watch a bunch of the awards.
Cool.
So, like, people are like, "Oh, you just got that," but it's like, well, I did research into it, because when I found out that I was up for it, I just watched as many AVN awards shows as I could.
Sure,
so that
like
when I walked into the meeting, like, the CEO of AVN, Tony Rios, was there, and I was able to, like, say to him, like, because in the past year he was dressed up in a mask. And they were like, some bondage porn star was like hitting him. Okay. And then he takes off the mask and it's like, whoa, it's the CEO of AVN,
sure,
right?
Yeah, he does it too.
And so when I saw him, the first thing I said to him was that really you behind the mask? Or was that like a double, you know?
Yeah.
So that I knew who he was. And everybody likes walking into a situation where they know who they are. Yeah. Right? So I just felt like one of my friends is like, you take everything, you prepare so much for everything. And I'm like, that's how you gotta do it. Yeah. You know, like, it's better than walking in unprepared.
Totally.
So, like, you know, there's homework to come with each audition, right? And, like, sometimes when you audition for a show, you don't want to do too much research because then you're like, oh, my God, if I don't get this, like, it'll kill me. Right? Like, you could get your hopes up so much.
Focus on, the more work you put in, it feels like higher stakes, maybe.
Or you might get nervous because then you become a fan of all those people.
Right.
Right?
In the room.
And you're like, oh, my God, there he is. And like, so it's a delicate balance, I feel like, between how much to prepare. But for the AVNs one specifically, I did prepare. I didn't watch every awards, but I watched the past, 3-4 years. Yeah. So I think that was really helpful. Cool. Because otherwise you're walking into a meeting and then you're just like, what do you want? I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like, if I hadn't watched that, I wouldn't have gotten it at all. Definitely.
Cool. Okay, yeah. Because, I mean, they don't know where you're coming from. Like, you could be totally a fan and then just be like, oh, they assume, and then they didn't hear it from you, so then how would they know, right? Like,
yeah, and everybody wants to work with somebody who's, like, excited to be there and knows what they're doing.
Right,
so.
Because it's a big deal to them. Yeah, that's cool. I like hearing that from you and from comedians, because I think so much of like what stand-up looks like is unprepared sometimes. Like, everybody who doesn't know anything about comedy thinks like, oh, I thought they just came up with that joke on the spot. And it's like, no, we, workshop jokes for a long period of time.
I feel like now people know.
Sure. But not everybody, not the people who, like, I know within, people who are friends of comedians, but sometimes people are like, oh, that one joke you did, like, I thought you just came up with that. And it's like, oh, well, no.
Well, podcasting ruined that for everybody.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you are listening to podcasts,
it's like all the comedians should have had a meeting before podcasting. Like, let's not discuss how much we make. There are certain things that, like, we shouldn't let out into the public, and that's why now everybody wants to be a comedian.
Everybody wants to be a comedian. There's so many more.
It's crazy. It's like, when I started, like, nobody wanted to be a comedian.
Sure.
It's like only the people who are meant to be comedians were trying to be comedians.
Right. And now, like, every celebrity wants to do stand-up, too. Yeah. Which is a whole another thing. Yeah. I mean, it looks like fun on stage, so I understand.
It is fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
But I just bring that up because the preparedness thing, like, I think preparing for something or knowing something is prepared makes it, like, not as exciting or, like, not as sexy, right? Because it's sort of like, oh, well, everybody loves that story of the guy who got plucked off of the street, or, like, that's what people say in interviews. But what they don't talk about is how much time they put into that, how much, like, research they did or whatever, because that is important, but it doesn't make the story as good. Right?
Are you saying my story's not good?
No,
it is a boring story. You're right. It's like,
but you know what I mean,
did
right?
my homework.
Like, if it was, sure, yeah. I mean, everybody wants to think that people are
that
just
you were just shopping at H&M and you got discovered by a director who was like, I want you for my TV show.
Exactly, that's like the Hollywood story.
People who don't know think that's how it works.
Yes, and they would think like, oh, probably maybe Avian just like saw some of Esther's stand-up and then was like, hey, you want to do our show next week? Host our thing next week? And you're like, right. Yeah. But what they don't know is, like, you had meetings.
They don't know
and
the hours of porn I had to watch.
You had to really sacrifice those hours watching a lot of porn to prepare. No, but you know what I mean? I don't know. So I always like hearing that because I want to prepare stuff, but then sometimes I won't because I think like, oh, wait, is this going to make it inauthentic? But then, I don't know, if everybody's doing it and it has good outcomes, then I want to know,
Yeah, I think it's good to prepare, but then sometimes it's good to go in not knowing how big something is.
Sure.
Because then you're kind of
starstruck,
partly oblivious, and so you're not as nervous, right? Because it can play with your nerves if you're like, oh my God, this is for HBO.
My big break.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And you're putting like so much on the line.
Totally.
That could backfire, I feel like.
Right. Like that sweet spot where you know what to bring, but not to be starstruck. I mean, imagine walking in and like whoever.
That's why I don't watch TV.
person.
I just read books, so I'm not starstruck.
That's great.
I'm like, oh, there's a sentence about you in that book.
But I wouldn't know because your face isn't in the book. Fair, yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. So then so for other types of meetings, do you like to look up people's like Wikipedias, or what do you normally do?
Yeah, I like to Google people. Yeah. And sometimes that helps too, because you're like, oh, that person has barely done anything. I'm not nervous at all.
You're like, he's a child.
Right?
I don't have to impress this child.
Like, oh, all of their movies are flops. I could get in.
Nice, yeah, definitely open with that.
Right.
In the meeting. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, because, there's a certain thing too where I think with...
Or even when I'm having like somebody on my podcast.
Yeah.
Right? I like to research them so that, if we get stuck, I could start asking them questions about them. I mean...
Totally.
I'm having somebody on my podcast, right?
Right.
So,
I mean, I've looked you up. Didn't need to. But because I literally remember just thinking back. I think the first videos that I saw of you were on Comedy Time. Is that what it's called? The like one that had the blue background and it was like
at the Ice House?
Yeah, it must have been. Is that the Ice House background? I don't even know. It's Comedy Time. Or what was that weird YouTube channel that was like a stand-up comedy? I don't know. You had a few videos on that that went viral early on.
Yeah. On YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I literally got paid $25 to do that.
I mean, great.
And at the time, they were like, oh, sign this paper. And they're like, it's for an app.
Oh, no.
It's for, like, some app that's going to be, like, shown on a watch. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. That's nothing.
Yeah.
So I just, like, signed it.
Right.
And, like, now I'm just trying to get that video taken down.
Sure. Okay, that's one that's still up
because, like, that video has so many views, but it's not the best representation of my stand-up.
Sure.
And people will email me, be like, oh, how dare you say that in
that
set? And I'm like, that was literally, like, who knows, like 12 years ago or something.
Right.
And then you're judging me, like, as if, but they had just discovered me, like, today or something.
So they're judging you on a 2019 scale.
Yeah, and then I literally wrote somebody on Instagram a comment. I'm like, obviously, like, that was an old video of mine. Like, go take a time machine and go talk to me 12 years ago. Like, stop bringing beef up of stuff I said 12 years ago.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I, like, kind of experienced that with the Laugh Factory video that I have of mine from like 6 years ago, so not too long ago, so maybe 5 years ago, but like it was released 5 years ago, but then I think I taped it like maybe half a year before that, so definitely like from a while ago. It's fine. I still stand by the jokes. It's fine, but people do get like, it gets reposted to Instagram. And then people like come at me.
That's the thing.
And it's like, at the time, I did not do this yesterday.
I know. And people think that you did.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, and I even though I'm not going to totally like throw my old self under the bus, it's also like, well, I stopped saying those jokes kind of for the reason of like waking up to the comments,
Yeah. Also, like when you're first starting out, you're just going for the easy punchline. Like you don't know that that's considered hacky or
right.
And then it lives on the internet forever.
And it circulates.
And it's
through
not
everybody.
like, you know what I mean? Like I put more thought into like, like my last comic standing set than I did like,
and NBC's not gonna air that.
Like a Comedy Time watch app set. Like I was just like treating that like it was like a regular set that just fucking lives on the internet forever.
It was really good though. Like that's the thing. Like I think I remember watching. I mean, again, and I guess it was a different year or whatever, right? But it actually, like, luckily it was really good. I think.
See, I cringe because I'm like, I didn't treat it like it was gonna like go.
Sure.
Be anywhere permanent. I thought it was gonna live in a fucking watch. Like that's how they sold it to us.
Fucking watch.
It's a watch app. Yeah.
What the hell? I didn't even know watches were on our. Why would we watch stand up on a watch?
I don't know. Why do I perform at the Ice House after they fucked me over with this watch app video?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Watch app.
And like they make money off of these video views.
I know.
And give us nothing.
I know. It's unfortunate.
So fuck you, Comedy Time.
But exposure, it's what we're paying the rent with. Exposure.
I guess.
I'm kidding. But yeah, speaking of, like what was I gonna call it? I guess Backlash and whatever, trolls and things like that. So I know you had the that great old article get published about you. And I don't mean to make you revisit your past, but
Yeah.
I remember just being like, wow, this is like, news has gotten out of control, obviously. But I remember you did a stand-up set at Funny AF, which is like Sam Clark and Veronica's show, addressing it because it was shortly after. And like, I wanted to talk to you about it because I was just like, this is great because I want to see people like bounce back and like, why are they going after you of all people? You know, this whole Twitter thing. I don't know. It was tweets that it was about, or
yeah, it was a reply
jokes?
to a tweet.
Oh, okay, yes.
That's the thing. It's like you got to be careful. Everything's all public online, right? So I had replied to somebody, and then they reprinted that. But the guy who wrote the article. Yeah. He was actually pretty objective. He wasn't on one side. He was just reporting it.
Oh, it was like, this is an exchange that happened on Twitter.
Yeah, and these people are mad about it. Right. So I thought he actually, he actually did me a favor.
Okay.
By like writing about it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so yeah, making it news.
Yeah.
Because that kind of validates the fact that there's a big exchange. And I mean, you got a lot of exposure again for something.
Yeah, and material
also
out of it.
Controversial. Yeah, material.
Yeah, but I've always been controversial. Like even when I was in high school, I got hate mail written on the bathroom stalls in my high school.
Mail on the stalls about you.
Yeah, at one time it said, "Go to hell, Esther Koo, go to hell, die!" Exclamation point.
Oh, uh-oh.
And
on the bathrooms.
Yeah, so I'm not like, this
like,
isn't new to me.
And
I grew up evangelical Christian, so like the persecution has just been real from day one. Okay, I was told to expect a lot of persecution. So in my world, this is just more persecution. Bring it on, fuckers.
Amazing. I do not deal as well with, I don't know because I haven't been through that. But when I saw that, I was like, oh man, I'd be out of commission for like a bit. Because I don't think I definitely didn't have that evangelical upbringing. But also, I don't know, I just think I get more sensitive about YouTube comments and all that stuff. It gets to me really easily. So, what's your secret?
I think at first, I was like that too. Mm-hmm. I think it was like, at first, like, whoa, this is crazy. But then I just, like, it just feeds, like, I just feed on it. Like, my high school had, like, a meeting, like, the administrators of my high school had a meeting, like, what to do with me. Because I was kind of like out of control with my underground newspaper, and it was going viral in my school. And the administrators had a meeting, like, what should we do? Should we? I imagine they were like, should we expel her? Should we suspend her? Is this illegal? Mm-hmm. I don't know. The internet is just new territory. She's not distributing it on school grounds. It's through email. Let's ban Hotmail on the library computers. And so that's what they decided to do. Okay. But just the thought of like these administrators having a meeting about me, I was like, oh, I'm like important.
You're doing something right. Interesting.
If you're like pissing some people off, you're making fans of the people who aren't being pissed off, Ooh,
okay. So that's like a really cool thing to hear. Because I feel like I was always such a goody, I was a goody two shoes. I think we talked about this a little bit on your podcast. But the fact that, you had this underground newspaper that was like, so it was like an email newsletter. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, makes sense. And is that why they wrote that on the bathroom stall, or is that unrelated?
I don't know who wrote that.
It wasn't the principal.
I'm assuming it's somebody that, I don't know who it was, but it was in the student bathroom.
Right.
So
so that's another.
I don't know.
You're
the thing
sipping
is,
on that haterade.
I viewed every classroom as like a comedy club audience.
Okay.
So every class I went into, I was making jokes and I was being funny, and sometimes people get in the line of fire, and I gotta, you gotta target somebody to make fun of in order to make everybody else laugh.
Yeah, you're like, sorry,
so
dude,
it's probably some girl who I pissed off by making fun of her for a cheap laugh.
Okay.
But I will never know who it was.
I mean, if she wasn't such a coward in writing when no one else is looking,
That was like my first YouTube comment I ever read.
That's the OG YouTube comment.
Yeah.
It's the cave painting of YouTube comments. Wow, yeah. Okay, so that's cool because I've been learning more about that recently too. Like, you're not going to be for everybody. Not everybody is going to be a fan of like even if you're putting 110% out there of like whatever it is that your work is. So just in our case, comedy, it's like the idea of being okay with people hating it or being okay with, like it takes a lot of maturity. It takes a lot of, experience as well, I'm sure, with the haters.
Yeah.
But to thrive off of it, I think that's like the next stage. And that's definitely, I'm not there yet at all. Like I had a YouTube video come out recently on the Just for Laughs, like digital channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like I liked my set a lot, but I think I was definitely could have done some things differently, and I learned a lot from it.
Well, we always feel like that.
Of course.
Like,
but
at what point do you put something out there to be
you're
permanently,
like, I'm done. Yeah.
like, scribed, right?
Right.
Like, everything's a work in progress, and
yeah.
so it's such a struggle for us to like put something out there, to be like, this is a permanent,
then
here's
like,
my permanent set to live.
Yeah, so it was definitely like a strange day where I had, I was like kind of like. Waiting for it to be released, then it released, and I checked comments like, okay, gotta put my phone down. Those comments are being kind of annoying. And then I got over it, luckily, because I had some auditions, so I could focus on other stuff that is unrelated.
You're like, let me get rejected in the acting world now.
Yeah, I'm like, here, I don't mind getting rejected to my face. But instead of online. But yeah, and so I think I learned a lot from that, but it did affect me a lot more than I thought. I thought I was over it because I was like, oh, I mean, I've had videos, it's going to be okay. And then I was like, oh, or not.
Oh.
Only because, I guess we don't also get a lot of feedback in the world in general, because everybody's so, maybe I surround myself with people who are too nice. But I think that, with face-to-face, it's like, I'm never going to get somebody too mean to my face after a set.
Right.
But online, people don't even expect the person to be reading it. So they'll be like, ugh, she needs works. Yikes. Like things like that.
Right.
And that gets to me. When people would say things like, ooh, keep working. Or like something kind of patronizing and
people say plenty of shit to our faces. They say like, I liked you.
Oh, yeah.
This crowd sucked, but I liked you.
Yeah, and you're like,
and then
what?
You're
I
like,
thought it was a great set.
What are you talking about? Like, they all liked me, didn't they?
Yeah. Like, what? I thought, where were you? Yeah.
Or like, oh my God, people will come up to me like and be like, so, how's the comedy thing going? So is that like a hobby of yours? And I'm just like, wow, bitch. Like, are you talking out of like jealousy or something?
That's true. Do you think that they are, or do you think it's a lot of times in our own head? Because sometimes I project like, ooh, that person's so jealous.
Recently, a friend of a friend of mine who's never been to one of my shows, she was just like, she follows me on Instagram, and then she was like, oh, so how's that going? And
so she should know.
It was so patronizing. Like, it was...
I think the patronizing can be worse than the mean,
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, maybe it's like us being, like, I saw this article recently that was like, stop calling Asian women adorable. Which I'm like, yeah, actually, though, because we get that a lot, and it's very minimizing. Mm-hmm. And so then I think when people say things like, oh, keep, maybe some more, when it's sort of like they're talking to a child, that's where I get like, okay, buddy,
Yeah.
more offended.
I know. People treat us differently, don't they?
Totally.
Yeah. Like, some people can be really patronizing.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of guys trying to give you career advice? Or people in general who have like been doing it less than you?
Career advice?
Or, joke tags, unsolicited?
Not necessarily comedians giving career advice. Like, some non-comedians will give me career advice.
Even worse.
Even worse, right? I'm like, you don't even know anything about my field. Like,
yeah. What like Uber drivers or...
No, just peripheral... Mm-hmm. They're in the business, but they're not like
performing
comedians, right?
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, what about on Twitter and stuff? I feel like a lot of loud men on Twitter always like to be like, oh, well, if you want to know comedy, you should watch this comedian. It's like, what?
No, I don't really get that much. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Yeah, I don't know what it is about. Because I see it a lot, too, with even just jokes by women on stage. Like, oh, man, I just recently started doing some more mics because I was trying to flesh out this one set. And, I just noticed how many more women comedians seem to come with jokes prepared and, they have jokes, mm-hmm. and people still kind of,
kind of don't laugh. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just in our brains too, where like if a guy goes on stage and he sounds like a comedian, and he looks like a comedian, even if he doesn't
I have this
bring
theory
the jokes.
that if I like went by a generic white guy's name and just pulled some generic white guy's like photo from the internet from Facebook, I would get more people coming to my shows than if I use like my photo.
It's so weird. I mean, it's not weird.
You know, you look at these like comedy club websites and you're like, who are these people?
I know.
And they're all like locals, like the
and
clubs
they do
use.
all the clubs.
No, but the clubs use them just because like
I
they don't
see,
have to pay for their travel. You know,
Sure,
if they're a local to whatever city
nearby.
they're in, and you've never heard of him, but he's headlining the whole weekend.
Right.
And
he gets a draw because
I'm
he
like,
just looks like a comedian.
Right, because that's just what the model of a comedian people are used to seeing is a white guy.
Yeah, and I think it's like something too, watching a video even online. Because I'll watch all these videos and it'll be like, so they don't have jokes, and it's fine, but they sound like the rhythm of how they're talking is like a comedian, and they look like a comedian, so people are like, comedian, automatic, like, and it's like, what are you, I don't even know what to laugh at, but whatever, I'm being an asshole. But, you know, I think it's just frustrating because I think we have a lot more to work against because you kind of have to, like, change people's minds.
Yeah, but then once you do, like, prove that, like, look at me, I don't look like a comedian, but I'm funny, I think that's such a satisfying feeling.
Totally. There is a lot of space to, like, go.
Yeah. So, you know, catching people off guard, like, people aren't used to Asian women being loud or outspoken.
No.
You know, like, our culture is so, you know, subservient. Like, it forces women to be so, like, submissive and to kind of, like, have to fight against that stereotype and to break through it, I think is a real accomplishment, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's already kind of against, you know, expectations, so I guess we have that.
Yeah,
going.
like, we're rebellious against our stereotype.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a big reason why I like it so much. I think, but yeah, speaking of, so if you were already from a young age all into the rebellion and into, you know, the shaking things up, was it, what sort of was the, stand-up makes sense, like, clicking moment?
Well, in high school, everybody was like, you're a comedian. Like, my dad would be like, you're a comedian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
like,
great.
he would, like, say to my mom, like, oh, look at your daughter. She's such a kijibe, which means, like, in Korean, it's, like, little, I don't even know what it means. It's kind of like, look at that dirty street bratty girl. It's basically like a street girl, I think.
Dirty street bratty girl.
Well, like,
No,
that's the way they made me feel, like, because I grew up with 3 brothers, right?
Got it.
And so I grew up roughhoused. I roughhoused with them. I ran in a pack of boys. And so for a long time, I basically felt like a boy.
Cool.
Right? And so when you run around with boys, you become like one of them. And I didn't have soft edges on me, you know? Like, I was just blunt, and I just brushed my teeth in the living room, and then, like, my dad would see that I'm not very ladylike, and my mom would try to turn me ladylike, and it didn't work. I'm like, well, if you had left me at Sarah's house when, you know, you guys were at church, maybe I would have turned out more ladylike, but you left me at Peter's house with all the boys, with more boys.
Right. I mean,
so I turned into this major tomboy, and, you know, I think my dad saw that and was just like, oh, she's such a comedian, because I didn't fit the profile of a typical girl, like a girly girl. And then in high school, since I treated each classroom as like a audience,
as your
my
touring
teachers were like,
show.
oh, you should be a comedian. My choir teacher,
okay, cool.
Mr. Jens, was like,
Mr.
you should be a
Jens.
comedian. And then once you hear it enough, you're like, I'm a comedian. And you feel comfortable telling people, like, I'm a comedian. Even if you haven't done anything, you're like, I'm a comedian.
Well, you know, you did
You
comedy
know?
in the
I mean, look at that guy who just had a heart attack in the UK.
God, yeah.
Nobody had heard of him, but he was a comedian.
Right? I mean, now he's one of the biggest
Now he's dead.
news headlines.
You know, like, who dies on stage? What a glorious way to die. I mean, like, no
Don't
offense.
get any ideas.
No
yeah.
offense to his friends and
Sure.
family. But, you know, speaking as somebody who doesn't know him.
Doing what he loved.
I mean, like, I always said I wanted to die from laughing.
Oh,
And
okay.
whoever told that joke that I laughed so hard that I would die would be named the funniest person alive.
Oh, wow. Okay,
You
so
know?
you'd be on the opposite end in that case.
Yeah.
The receiving end. Yeah, I mean, I love to laugh, and I think that's one of the reasons why I got into it, because it's just like being around other funny people is great. But I also think that it's interesting that you bring it up as like, oh, being a guy, because it definitely is weird how humor, like, I mean, because you have to hang out with so many dudes if you want to do stand-up.
Yeah.
So I think being at that comfort level is kind of an advantage. It's like, because for most guys, I mean, that is what they do anyway, so that's easy for them. But for some women, it's not necessarily doesn't come as easily, right?
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it comes easy to me because I grew up around so many boys.
Fair. Yeah.
You know?
Cool.
Like, some of my friends only had sisters, and
Yeah.
they didn't know what it was like to hang out with boys at home. Whereas, like,
Yeah.
I saw how gross and, you know, disgusting boys were, and how competitive.
Sure.
And, you know, like, when they're playing Nintendo, and, like, getting really mad at the Nintendo set and the TV that they didn't win that round. Like, you just, you know, when you're immersed in that guy culture, it kind of prepared me for comedy, because it is such a male field, male-dominated field.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I only had an older sister growing up, but we would always joke about how, like, whoa, what if we had a brother? That would be so sad.
Really? That would be
You
sad.
would be so left out.
It would ruin everything.
No, but I mean, for sure, like, yeah, I don't know how, I think when I was starting to, like, I was kind of separate from everybody anyway, because I was kind of young, so I didn't really, like, have to do much socializing until maybe recently. And then by then it was like, it's been, you know, there's like a decent amount of women, and everybody's kind of mixing in, and it's like getting better in
I
certain
feel like
areas.
each city I moved to, like, I started in Boston. And
Right.
I think that was a tough place for me to start, because it is so many white guys,
Okay, yeah.
you know? And then I moved to New York, and I was like, oh, wow, there's so many more female comedians here.
Totally.
And then just more diverse comedians, too. And then moving to LA, it's even more supportive of, like, oh, yeah, female comedians can have TV shows. And you're like, whoa, what?
What does that mean?
You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, LA's great. Lots of Asians, lots of women,
Yeah.
lots of fun. We're doing it. But yeah, I forgot you started in Boston. I remember you saying that you used to drive the Red Bull truck around. Red Bull
well,
car?
not Red Bull. It was for Sharpie, but it was similar to Red Bull.
Right. One of the brands.
In that it was branded.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
completely different brand, but you know, Sharpie makes sense.
Yeah.
How was that life?
That was great. I mean, I remember thinking, I'm not going to have it this good in a long time. For a long time, right? Like,
Sure, you get
I
that
had
Sharpie money?
a company car,
Uh-huh.
a corporate credit card, a corporate gas card, health insurance, 401k.
Holy shit!
You
that
know?
does not exist.
Free pens of, like, the highest caliber.
Sharpies?
You
Damn.
know? Like,
Sharpie Deluxe.
it was
Uh-huh.
the best, like, day job a comedian could ever ask for.
Got it.
And it was amazing, because my territory was New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, Connecticut. And so, you know, this is a place where, like, people go to vacation and go look at the foliage.
Yeah.
You know, like, people take bus tours of the leaves in New
finest
England. And here I'm getting paid to drive around this beautiful scenic route and, you know, call on all these staple stores. And plus, it taught me a lot about just, like, relationships and building relationships, because I basically had like 80 Staples stores in my territory. Cool. So I would go to each Staples store probably once every 2 months or so, and like bring down all the Sharpies I would take a ladder into the aisle and bring down all the Sharpies, so that in case, you know, you go shopping for a certain pen and you go to their pen aisle and, you know, there's stock above, but it's empty on the rack because it's a popular item.
Oh, yeah.
I would fill in that rack.
Oh, that wasn't necessarily your job, though, was it?
Yeah, that was my job.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
that was
I thought
part of my job.
stocking people. Okay, got it.
Well, you know, the thing is, like, the stocking people, they have to worry about the whole store.
Sure.
And
You're
and so, like,
beeline to the Sharpies.
Rubbermaid made this whole, like, you know, new job category. And I don't know if it was really profitable for them at all, because some field marketing representatives were caught, like, working side jobs. Like, one guy was, like, a personal trainer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then once they found out I was a comedian, they were like, oh, it's all over for you.
Even that? That's more of, like, a nighttime thing, though.
I know, but, like, they knew my heart wasn't in it.
Sure.
And,
I
like,
mean,
plus these
what do they
corporate
expect?
girls, they're so catty. Like I was so young and naive that I was just like, oh yeah, I'm doing comedy. Come to my show, right? Because they're my friends.
Right, and they like.
But then they
that
would like,
knowledge
leak out to everybody in the company at the sales meetings, like, oh well, Koo really just wants to do comedy.
Oh no.
Or we were at Koo's show, and it's
and
kind
they're
of
like,
a
what?
it's kind of a backstabby thing to do.
Totally.
To be like, oh, her heart's not in the corporate world. She wants to like tell jokes for a living. How dare she?
A little narky.
Yeah. So, but it taught me so many skills. Like that was like a training program for like talking to people and just getting from point A to point B, because that was before like GPSs. Actually, I remember there were emails going around. Some girls on my team were like, hey, do you think we could get GPSs for our cars? Because we would literally print out like MapQuest directions for every place we went. And eventually I just learned my way around. I didn't need MapQuest anymore. But that was like right when like those MapQuest apps and GPS devices that you could like plug into your car were like out.
The suction cups.
Isn't that funny?
That's crazy, because obviously now it's all on the phone. But yeah, to get around with a map that's not on your phone is like a whole crazy skill.
Yeah.
Spatial thinking.
It taught me a lot of skills that I still use today.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like that's interesting, because I think a lot of those types of jobs are getting lost on young people. Like a lot of people do freelancing now, right? So it's sort of like I do a lot of freelance coding, but I'm all like at home and I do it, and that's how I'm able to like do comedy and stuff. And I think that's where I do not get out.
A lot of jobs are leaning more towards everybody's working at home.
Yeah, so like
I read that.
No human connection.
Yeah, that's
like I don't know how to speak to humans if I don't do a podcast. My boyfriend works from home and like does all his meetings over Skype. So at least you're talking to somebody, but like all of his office is in London, so it's like very far away. And that's just the nature of a lot of people's jobs now, which is great for, the independent lifestyle. But then the other thing too is, for me personally, when I do coding and stuff, I can only get hired as like a contractor. So there's no health insurance. They don't have to pay for like anything other than just the hours you put into the work. And sometimes not even that, because they'll like ghost me and I won't even get paid. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not going to go after them legally. You know what I mean? Like there's really no protection for like the freelance worker. So it's like a bit of a, what's that called? Wild West happening right now.
It's like everybody has a Schedule C now on their taxes.
Oh yeah. I just did those.
Right?
God damn it. Yeah. Oh, taxes are brutal this year. Okay, let's get out of that zone. But I like the idea, of working in, I did smaller jobs in college that were maybe more customer facing or customer service, or just getting out of your comfort zone, talking to people you don't know. And I think that's like so valuable.
I think it's good. I mean, I had a job in college where I had to talk to people.
Wow.
I worked for a .com, and I think that's such a great day job for any comedian. Any job where you have to talk to people, like being a tour guide.
Sure, that's already kind of halfway
like
there.
Training anybody for anything, teaching like a driving course, teaching anything. Anything where you have to talk is such a great job, because you could just throw in jokes.
Oh, totally.
And
it's like your own open mic.
Rather than like staying at home coding.
Well, thank you, Esther. I know what I'm doing is not conducive to my career. Yeah, no, for sure. Because I'll get in the zone of being like, oh, God. Human interaction? What do I do?
Yeah, and plus talking to all different kinds of people.
Yeah.
Because I had to go to all different kinds of neighborhoods and, talk to like everybody, from the store manager to the, cashier to the, to just anybody who's just mopping the floor. And that just gives you experience on how to talk to people,
Yeah. Because, I mean, you're going to run into, like, some weirdos and then some really loud people you don't need to even say anything.
Well, the weirdos, I make my friends.
Sure. Good.
And then
any particular weirdos that you still are friends with?
I collect weirdos everywhere I go. Nice. And then I guess it's just kind of, like, it just kind of happens.
Yeah. I mean, the weirdos are the best.
Right?
I consider myself a weirdo in many ways. So then it's kind of like just finding your people,
Yeah. I feel like that's such a typical hot girl thing to say. You post a picture of you being hot on Instagram. No. You're like, I'm such a weirdo. And everybody's like, sure you are. right?
Oh no, it is though.
No,
I did see somebody post something recently. It was like a celebrity, so I don't know her, but she was like biting her finger or something in like a glammed up photo,
In like
and
a
it was
sexy
like,
way.
Yeah, and it was
She's
like,
I'm such
this
a
is
weirdo.
me. This is me like biting my finger while thinking about I should be watching Game of Thrones, and it's like, what?
Hashtag I'm such a weirdo.
Yeah. Also, like, yeah, I'm such a weirdo. Like, I watched
Right?
the most popular show. Everybody's talking about it, so I have to include that in my caption. It was hilarious.
Ah.
Well done marketing on that whoever celebrity's photo. Stupid. But I guess just meaning in the sense that, like, you know, I think what we do with stand up, it does feel so isolated sometimes, and like it's kind of nice to be able to create those relationships wherever you go quickly, because, you know, it's not like you're going to be permanently sticking around wherever you do a club, but it's nice to have friends in the area or something like that.
Or it's just nice to like make strangers laugh, you know, when you're not doing a show. It's just kind of satisfying. Like you make the person at the post office laugh or whatever. Like, those people are really hard to make laugh because they're government employees.
Right.
And
Legally, they're not allowed to laugh.
government employees are like, they just notoriously aren't big laughers. Like TSA agents, federal employees,
DMV folks.
FBI agents, cops. You know, these people, they're some of the toughest audiences out there.
Yeah, they're working on the
It's like
government's
it's
watch,
like,
you know. They
it's
can't.
like, dude, you're gonna collect a nice pension. Like at the end of this, like stop being so fucking sour. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
like you should be laughing all the way to the bank with your fat pension.
What even is a pension? I don't even know. But yeah, fair enough. It's good to make somebody laugh who you just met, because they don't have any background on you. So there's nothing
and
to
they
go
don't
off
even
of.
know you're a comedian. You know,
True.
that's like the
They
best
probably don't
thing
think so,
when you're
yeah.
just like trying on clothes in a dressing room and you make the girl laugh. You know what I mean? Like
Is she watching you getting dressed?
no, the girl who's like giving you like
Sure, she's
the
giving you the
tag
number.
for like number
3
like, you have
things. Don't
6
steal anything.
6 things at Marshall's that you're trying on.
Nice.
You know?
Love Marshalls. Good store. But yeah, I see. So what about like being in this for, as you know, you've had a nice long career, still to be longer. Like, what do you feel about the instability of it and sort of the ups and downs of it? Because it's
I
obviously
love
not
it.
a thing. It's not a. Yeah, tell me. I want to know.
Well, you know, I was watching this YouTube video of these 2 authors interviewing each other, and I heard some sage advice that I wish I would have heard years ago, right? And it was don't show your work to anybody who depends on you for food, shelter, or sex. Basically, like your family members.
Okay.
Like, don't expect them to get all excited about like the project that you're working on.
Okay.
And I thought that was great advice, because sometimes we get frustrated, you know, because our family members might not be the most supportive people.
Okay. Yeah.
But like my brother got me like a book on how to start a music teaching business for Christmas one year. Right? And I'm like, what made you think that's what I want to do? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's
Like, it was just such an insult. It's like, you could have,
here, why don't you pivot?
you could have literally gotten me any book in the bookstore and I wouldn't have been as offended. Right? Like, get me a cookbook.
Get some side
anything.
thing.
Get me a novel.
Yeah,
Get me
like a kid's book.
whatever. But it was just so specific, like, let me change the path of your career.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
What?
Yeah.
So
So,
funny.
so I thought that was just really good advice, because it's true. Sometimes the people closest to you, and it's not that they think you're not going to be successful. It's just, it's more to do with them. You know, like they are scared to pursue anything artistic or creative, and they think that if they did that, they would fail. So they're projecting that onto you.
I see.
You know?
Yeah, and sometimes their opinions are like the ones that we value the most. Because
Right, because you're like, wow, I
we
grew
love
up
them.
with them.
Yeah.
And shouldn't they know how funny I am? Like, I made them laugh their whole fucking
all the
childhood.
I give you all my best material.
You had me in the most rawest form.
Yeah, private shows.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's hilarious.
like literally, I would be making my entire family die laughing.
sure,
Like we
yeah.
had a family. We had a piano in our living room, and I would just bang the piano keys, belting, just yelling at the top of my lungs, like the
Made up
funniest
song.
shit that
Nice.
was never recorded.
Yeah,
was never documented.
Art.
Like, I just never had a camcorder during those days, but we'd be like dying laughing, you know?
Right. And then they're like getting you that. They're like, well, music business.
Right. They see that, you know, the thing is, I
Yeah.
did have a lot of success with music early on.
Oh, cool.
And so I could see why he would think that I want to pursue music. Because I always wanted to study music and, you know, I never got to. But, you know, but it is a passion of mine.
Right.
I do like music.
That's
so.
good. Yeah. But maybe not to
As a
completely
career.
change too. Right. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I think I always, I always think like, oh, I mean, I think I've been lucky with my family, very supportive and everything. But I will notice, even if they say like the slightest critique or something, and I should just be grateful that they're
them on
even
Instagram.
lazy. Yeah, I know. Like, out of here, never ever again. And then I see them in the next week. But yeah, no, I definitely feel like even if there's any little critique, it's just that much louder from family than it is from like the random person.
Right.
And I didn't even realize that in myself until it happens, and they're like, oh wow, I'm sensitive. I'm a sensitive little girl.
I just kind of like write jokes and act like my family's dead. Because like if you cared about what your family thought, you're gonna be a really lame comedian and only talk about like macaroni and cheese. You know what I mean?
Which is a great joke.
And like I don't know.
Sure.
I am more, rebellious, I guess, in that sense.
No, and I think yeah, when it comes to jokes, like you do have to.
Yeah, when it comes to material, like you don't want to always have your an image of your parents looming above your bed.
And so I
oh my God, they're gonna watch me have sex.
So yeah, that's true. I don't do that, but I would say like even my mom listened to my podcast once, and she was like, oh, make sure you don't say this, and then make sure, like, I say like a lot. Don't say like, and speak slowly, and make sure you wait for the guest to finish talking.
You're like, did I
and I'm like,
give you a comment suggestion for?
Yeah.
Right?
Right, and so now it's like, oh God. But then I realized that day I was very much like, Mom, I get a lot of feedback, so if you could just like chill. And then I was like, okay, I'm getting really overworked because it's my mother.
I wish I was adopted by a more supportive parent. You're just criticizing me all the time.
Hey,
that's just what parents like.
Yeah, she's just doing her job.
It's hard not to criticize your kids because your kids are just an extension of you. Right. And so really she's just criticizing herself.
Okay.
Of like, why did I have her?
Why did I have her? Well, all right, when you put it that way, I mean,
she's
it's
like,
totally fine.
Damn it. I should have stopped with her sister. The one-child policy.
Oh, yeah. They were up to something good there in China. Yeah, no, I definitely feel like, with a lot of stuff, I think about, too, just the, sometimes parenting, I'm sure, like, it does work up until a certain point, because it is like, all this, like, snowplow parenting stuff. You hear about all the Lori Loughlin stuff?
What is a snowplow?
Ooh, okay, so it's the, how there's helicopter parenting, which is like you're hovering over your kid. So you're like, oh, make sure that the crusts are off his sandwiches, and make sure that he finishes his homework on time.
Yeah, those annoying parents.
So like super hovery. Mm-hmm. That's helicopter. But then the new version is snowplow, which means it's parenting that does not prepare the kid for the road, but the road for the kid. Meaning it's like the parents who call ahead and are like, oh, my kid's allergic to this, so like, I mean, well, that's safety. But I guess like the Lori Loughlin scandal where she like paid USC $500,000 or whatever to get her kid into USC, even though it's just like, or maybe your kid doesn't need to go to USC.
It's coddling them in another way with the external world.
Totally, and the kid doesn't even know. So it's like then the kid finds out when they're partying on some yacht. My mom paid $500,000 for me to be here in the first place. Oh shit! So yeah, so it's called snowplow parenting.
Don't you know how to suck a dick?
Exactly, right?
You know, like, Mom, come on, that's such a waste of money.
Yeah,
I'd rather buy my own fucking yacht so I didn't have to blow this guy.
Right. Well, there you go. I mean, they could have used those because then it would have been maybe a more discreet transaction. But no, there's lots of paper trails, and they're all going to jail.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's that one.
We love that. We love it when people fall from grace.
Oh, I mean, it's a huge fall. It's a tumble. Yeah, it's hilarious, but yeah, it's just crazy some of the parenting stories.
I hadn't heard about the snow plowing.
I mean, it just recently came up because of that, but there's like a lot of school counselors or people who are kind of coming forward with stories that when they were working at the school, like the parents that would call in and with what demands and like what was going on, and like some girl who didn't like sauce her whole life, so her parents would like protect her from sauce.
Oh my
in the food.
God.
Which is an extreme.
And those kids are the ones who
example.
write all the nasty YouTube comments because
Damn it.
their parents
See,
snowplowed
they
their way
just-
everywhere.
I know, they should just give him some sauce, made him deal with it. But yeah, so it's an interesting thing. Do you like kids?
I do like kids. Yeah, I was teaching a stand-up class for kids. It's called Stand Up with Comedy with
comedy.
Amber Preston.
Oh,
And
sounds familiar.
she does this program where she like brings comedians into these schools and they teach a stand-up class.
No way.
And yeah, and you know what they say is true. Like when you're teaching, it really helps you with your own stuff, because like when you see these kids just be so brave and like just write a joke like that day and then just try it out with someone, you know, like with all their guts.
Yeah.
And they're not, you know, even comedians, they're just taking this kind of extracurricular activity. It just makes you be like, why don't I try out a fucking new joke next time I go on stage? You know, like it really makes you like kick yourself and be like, if these kids can do it, I can do it.
Nice.
So it was really fun, and I hope I can volunteer with them again.
Sweet.
You should do it. They would love you.
I'd love to do it.
Yeah, I'll connect you with her.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. I mean, I have I've never. Wait, were your brothers older or younger? Around.
I have an older and then 2 younger.
Oh, okay, so you
Yeah.
had younger siblings.
Yeah.
Which I think is helpful because I'm the youngest. It's like obviously just me and my older sister, and and so I was always worried I wouldn't be good with kids, and I'm still not because I've never had a kid. But you know, I think it's just like always like, ooh, how do I deal with younger people?
Really?
They're so small.
But well, I think but when you're around kids, don't they treat you like you're a kid?
Yeah, and I can do that.
Yeah, because that's what
Or
they
like-
do to me,
okay,
especially
yeah.
because of my laugh.
They're like, oh, it's one of us.
Yeah, because I laugh a lot and I'm little. I wear kids' clothes. I wear bright colors, so they think I'm a kid.
How old were these kids?
They're like, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, so they're like real young. Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
a Todd.
Yeah, so they think I'm like one of them, you know?
Cool.
It's funny because I went camping with some friends, and one of my friend's daughters was like, "Who's your dad?" They thought I was there with my parents.
That's adorable. Well, I don't see anyone who could be your dad.
I'm like, "Thank you, little girl."
Oh, wow. What a compliment. Yeah. Who's your dad?
Who's your dad?
I mean, it's important.
Oh, it's so funny, right?
That's cute. Yeah, I guess so. Like, I remember, because I've always been small, so even when I was still kind of a kid, but, maybe high school, not kid,
Right.
I would go to these basketball camps, and I think they would be like, oh, maybe you should, like, they would accidentally put me with, like, really young kids, because I think I was, like, maybe a little taller than them, so it wasn't quite clear that I was way older.
Right.
But I'm like, I can't be playing
You're like,
with,
I'm actually tall for
8-year-olds.
me.
Yeah, I'm like, I should not be.
You're like, I'm
Yeah.
fully grown.
I was fully grown at 8 years old. Yeah, it was always a little shocking, but I was like, I guess, look, I do look that
You know
tiny.
what? Because I have 3 younger siblings, I always felt like I was really big. Because I always had 3 people who were smaller than me my whole life.
Totally.
And then I go out into the real world and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not that big. You know?
I guess
Like,
not.
I always felt like
relatively.
I was tall because I would take care of them.
That's fair. I always I joke about this that a lot of my cousins are smaller than me. So when I go to my family reunions and stuff, like I feel big. Maybe I'm not bigger than uncles and aunts and a lot of cousins, but I think it's just because I am not the smallest that I feel big.
Yeah.
Relatively, right? And then I'm bigger than my sister, but barely, but like she's just like a skinny bones human. And I feel like I've always had bigger like limbs. So then I'm like, you're tiny.
Right.
And then even though she is older, and then I realize when I go home to my my parents' home, they have like all the counters are lower and like everything feels like it's for small people. Because when I live at this apartment, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'm used to like this height.
Built for like a white person.
Yeah, it's like a white people apartment, right?
Yeah.
Like on average. And then I go home, I'm like, oh my god, everything's like very low and I kind of bend over. But then I guess that is comfortable for me, and it should be. Here I'm like on my tippy toes.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, I like can't like in the
Or
bathroom.
some
I'm always,
hotels
like,
you go
can't see
to,
myself
and you're like,
in the
this
mirror.
mirror is built for somebody who's 6 feet tall.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I can see my forehead. What's happening?
You're like,
Yeah.
who built this?
Can't reach the top shelves here.
You
It's
know,
a
like
joke.
this is
Yeah.
why we need more women in the workforce.
Yeah, we need a purse thing in the car. Everybody always says like a purse hole.
Oh, what is the solution for that?
I put it next to between me and the door.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes it'll fall down or like it'll block my elbow when I'm trying to drive.
Oh,
People. I guess there's the little middle compartment, but
it's never big enough.
It's not big enough. Yeah.
I just put it on the seat next to me, but then if
What if somebody
somebody's
has to sit
sitting
there?
there, then I put it on the ground. But then they'll like
caught under the
step
pedal.
all over it.
Oh, I see. They're ground. Yeah. No thanks. You got to put it in the back. It's a whole disaster. So that's why women should build the cars.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
need more like female, like cars built specifically for females.
Yeah. What else would you change about it?
Well,
trying to
they
think
just,
what
I
else.
read an article about how cars are built for male safeties, for men's safety in mind.
So like they're
So like
penis?
women get more injured in car accidents
Oh,
than men
no,
do,
'cause
or
it's smaller?
or they die more often in car accidents than men do, than if a man had been sitting there, because the car is built to protect a bigger person.
Okay. Well, I mean,
know?
you always see those crash dummies, and they look like dudes.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
They don't use female crash dummies.
Yeah, and I guess so. It'd just be like a shorter. I mean, I guess there's a huge possibility that we're also just too small for a lot of these cars.
Well,
So like it's
we just need more
it'll,
female
like, decapitate
engineers
us.
and
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
For
Like,
sure.
fro-
Because then you're thinking that way.
right. Then if there's a female in that room, they're gonna be like, hello.
Hi, I actually died in that car accident.
Yeah. Hello. I would like to build a female dummy my size.
Yeah.
Or just
And
build
see
a
what
car.
happens.
Like if any car manufacturer built a car that was made for the safety of women, like I feel like it would do really well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
Like, okay, like the Volkswagen Beetle, it's kind of built for a woman because it's like small
Oh, okay.
and has like a
Cute.
vase for the flower, and it's cute.
A vase?
Yeah,
Oh.
it comes with like a little
Oh, that's
holder, and
Okay.
you could put like just like one stem
those.
like flower
One
in it. But I feel like
Uh-huh.
Volvo should come out with like, this is a car for women.
Yeah, vulva.
Vulva.
Yeah.
Vulva.
Volvo for women. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't even realize that was an issue. Also, like, oh yeah, I think I remember hearing that certain things, if you should turn the passenger airbag off if you're like passenger small because it might decapitate them. Like,
Oh
well,
my
fuck that.
God.
Nobody wants that.
If they're like a child,
I think it's a child,
How
but
do you
but a
turn-
child could be bigger than me. So
how do you
I
turn
don't
the
know.
passenger airbag off?
Fuck, I don't know.
I guess you have to read your owner's manual.
You have to override the system.
I guess I'll read my owner's manual
Yeah,
next time
yeah.
I'm sitting in traffic on the
Yeah.
405.
Right. Keep it safe. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Things aren't really built for everybody. It's like when those, whenever they do the like kinetic video game thing where you're dancing in front of the camera, like it wasn't detecting black people.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
like, oh, because probably a bunch of like tests on white people and like all the engineers are like white and Asian, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So that was like a big news headline once they released it. And it's like, oh, you guys didn't think to just try and
They were
test
like,
this
we
on
didn't
our
think
people?
black people were going to buy our video game.
Let
It's
alone
not- it's not
play
Madden.
it. Yeah, right. Sheesh. But yeah, there's always all these things that come out. Or like, yeah, a lot in tech world stuff because I think people are just like,
Yeah.
the world's not white and Asian.
Right.
Silicon Valley, you know, they're doing
Wow.
their best. They're doing their best. Did you see the Elizabeth Holmes documentary on Theranos?
No,
By
I
any chance?
haven't.
Okay, whatever. It's not.
I
mean, it's
do
good,
like. I
but
do love a good documentary.
It's a fun one. I think I just find her very fascinating. It's all these like con people that are coming out of the woodwork who are like just pulling the wool over people's eyes. I'm fascinated by it
way.
because they're just so confident about absolutely nothing.
Wow.
Do you like? Okay, so that's one thing I'm trying to work on too. Is just like
Conning
not being
people?
a con man. Being a con man. No, but I think confidence. You know, because I realized a lot of it is just confidence.
You want to be
And
more
do you
confident?
have- yeah, I mean, I feel like you're a confident person, and like, is it something that you think about, or no? It's just sort of.
You know, like, it's funny because I was confident in high school, I feel like.
Got it. When you're tearing down the administration from the inside.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know where it comes from. I don't know. I guess just from, like, being able to make people laugh makes you confident.
Totally.
You know? So if you have a room in the palm of your hand and you know you could just make, you know, people laugh and people's guards, you know, come down and they give you discounts on things because, like, you made them laugh and you made their day better. I think that's where I get my confidence from. I don't know. I don't
It's
really.
a weird question. I mean,
I've never been
necessarily-
asked that, but
I mean, it's not. Yeah, I feel like also saying like where do you get your confidence from can be like a mean question.
no,
too,
but it's
right?
a
I
good
just mean,
question
like,
though, and I'm trying to figure out an answer for it because I've never really been asked that, you know. But I don't know. I guess I just don't care if people don't like me, you know.
That's huge. Yeah.
Because otherwise, I wouldn't be so bold in the things that I said, right? Like,
Right, because
I
that's
just
what's
know
gonna
that.
upset people.
I guess I just know that I'll have haters no matter what, and I've always had those haters. Like when I was in high school, like these girls in my high school hated my laugh, and my laugh is something that I can't change. I can't genetically, like, I get it from my mom, and my whole family laughs like this. So, you know, it's like once you realize, all right, half of the population or more doesn't like me because of the way I laugh. It's something genetic, and sometimes it's a nervous tick, and I do laugh a lot. And if they don't like me, what am I going to do? Stop laughing?
Right. That's
Right?
literally.
And I just kind of
They're
accepted,
not
like,
liking you. Be joyful.
half the population is going to hate me. And when you kind of accept that, you're like, oh, okay, whatever.
Cool.
You know, like, there are people who do like me. So,
Yeah. No, that's like a really liberating realization, I think, right? Because
yeah.
that's so funny. Because them not liking you laugh is literally like saying it's like Scrooge. It's like not liking other people's joy, which is hilarious.
Yeah. And
But yeah, because it was something that you know is unchangeable. Like you can accept it earlier rather than being like, what can I change about me to please this other section of the population? You know?
Right. Yeah, it's something like you just can't change about you.
Yeah.
You know, I can't get
Cool.
plastic surgery on my laugh.
No, that's
know?
true. I don't
So,
think so.
what am I going to do?
Auto-tune?
What am I going to do? Stop laughing? Like,
Right.
everybody tried to get me to stop laughing. My mom was like, don't laugh a lot, don't laugh loud, like nobody's going to marry you. And she's right. And then everybody at school was like, shut up, stop encouraging her. But then the stoners were always my people.
Nice.
You know, like
Yeah, 'cause
I'd
they
be
find
making
that
them laugh. Like they got
easy.
stoned before they came to school, or they got stoned at lunchtime, and then I'm just making them laugh.
Amazing. Yeah,
You
you
know?
found your audience.
So the stoners are my people, so everybody can go fuck themselves. Everybody else.
Amazing. Very timely for 420, I suppose. Celebrating?
You know what? I usually have a 420
Saturday.
show, but I don't have a 420 show this year.
Yeah.
Unless I scrap one together last minute.
Could happen.
But-
We've got 3 days. I don't know. What day is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I've never even
Smoked weed?
thought about I have smoked weed, but I've never even thought about doing stand up high. You know, there's those shows where you like do stand up and then you get high and then you do stand up again. I was
Oh,
like,
right.
yeah, no thanks. I'd kill myself.
You know, I think it's really fun. I don't know. I'm just such a professional stoner
Sure.
that
Functioning.
it's not like I think about it like, oh, I'm going on stage high. It's kind of like, oh, that's how I operate.
It overlapped. Yeah.
It just kind of like brings me to regular mode, you know?
Yeah. That's
Like
that's
putting
fine.
gas in your car.
Got it.
That's
got it.
my
Right.
that's my fuel.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, then you'll have to celebrate because it'll just be another day.
Right?
Okay. So I guess that was all
420
great.
is for amateur stoners.
Oh,
That's when
yeah.
everybody. It's
'Cause
like
then
New
you're like,
Year's.
oh,
You know, it's like, oh, why is everybody throwing up? Because they're not used to drinking so much.
Right. Versus the rest of us are drinking every day. Come
Yeah,
on.
so that's
every
why
day's New
it
Year's.
didn't really like phase
Sure,
me.
yeah,
Every
I
day
see.
is 420 for me.
Got it. Makes sense. A pro. All right, but back to, so I guess we've covered a lot of the good stuff. So I wanted to just get into the positivity things.
Okay.
And I mean, or whatever, this could just be the
What do I do to be
closing
positive?
thing. Yes.
Be positive.
Perfect. Thank you.
I have a cheerleader inside me.
Yeah.
No, you know, there is something that I do to stay positive that I love doing,
Ooh.
and that is listening to pop music.
Oh.
I love listening to pop music.
Who's your pop go-to artist?
I love like Erasure, Katy Perry, you know, Flock of Seagulls, Rod Stewart. So I just love like happy music. Pharrell, Justin Timberlake, like Justin Bieber, like any like there's a reason why these songs get to the top of the charts because they're so positive and they make you feel good. And so I just listen to a lot of music, and like I blast the radio when I'm driving that I'm sure my ears are like about to give out any time now because like I do major damage to my ears. So I just blast the music, and I don't like melancholy songs. Like I went through my Morrissey phase, you know, years ago, but it's just, I just like staying, like music just lifts your mood. So, you know, like it's amazing that how music can just change your mood, like if you're feeling down. So I do that. And then I also exercise, and that helps me stay positive, you know, because when your endorphins are running wild in your body, like it's just hard to be down or sad, right?
Yeah.
And also just like staying connected to people, I think is a good way to stay positive, because otherwise you can get isolated, right? And just talking to people and just reminding yourself that, oh, I do have friends, and let me connect with them and go do stuff with them. And just also going outside helps a lot. Like I took a walk this morning, and it just felt good. Like I thought it was gonna be like warmer, so I was wearing a skirt earlier, but I still walked because I was like, I know it's cold out, but it just feels good to kind of get outside while there's daylight out.
Sure, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we're lucky to have that.
Yeah, because sometimes, you know, you could be like cooped up in your house, like, and you don't even leave until you have a show until the sun, after the sun goes down. You're like, wow, I never even saw the sun today. And it could be easy to do that, right? So I think just like going outside, and then I'm thinking about getting a dog. Just kidding. But people who have dogs, I do find that they are a lot of times happy. Right?
You have a look in your eye like happy. Yeah, no, I mean,
was told dog owners are happy.
So I got myself a dog. Yeah, I think the dog thing too, it does force you to go outside.
I know, that's what's great about it, because it's like, you know, there's this thing that's depending on you to take it outside to shit.
So you have a purpose.
And I'm also building an outhouse in my backyard, so I'm being forced to go outside to shit like a dog.
Perfect. Like, okay, take it away, Esther. Yeah, I mean, what did I say? Oh yeah, dogs. Because I think also the purpose of being like, this thing is depending on me, and I have a purpose in this world, which is to care for this living thing. I think that actually does.
I think helping people also, you know, helps us stay positive, right?
Yeah, saying thanks and saying...
Or just like connecting people, like texting someone like, hey, you should do this show. Here's this person's, you know, phone number or email. Just connecting also, people. It just makes you feel good, you know, because just letting people know, like if you're a fan of somebody, like letting them know that you're a fan of theirs. Yeah. Like, I think, you know, just bringing somebody happiness brings you happiness. Right? Totally. So I think that helps a lot. And sometimes I'll forget to like tell somebody like how funny they are. I think they are, because I'm like, oh, when I watch them on stage, I'm laughing through their whole set. Surely they know.
Right, but
that
sometimes
I think
they
they're
don't
hilarious,
see.
right?
Yeah.
But it always also does help when somebody's like, you're hilarious.
Right,
and you're like,
oh, yeah, and especially coming from like another comic too. I feel like those are more meaningful, because we see so many comedians, so we're gonna have taste. I saw this or I read this thing about how, because I also totally think the whole like connections and, you know, making sure everybody around you is healthy and happy and stuff, like, actually affects you and makes you happy, blah, blah, blah. And there was this thing, I was reading this book, and one of the things that they pointed out is that, like, and he was comparing Eastern and Western culture as if they're, like, super different, which, who, you know, whatever that means. But he basically said, like, if they did this test where if they told a bunch of people in America, like, for the next 2 weeks, work on yourself, work on making yourself happy, or maybe longer than 2 weeks. And then they did the same thing in, like, Taiwan and China, or some, you know, a couple countries
and China's
in the
like,
East.
we don't know how to be happy.
Yeah, they're like, well, you're not speaking
We are
language.
robots.
Maybe it was Taiwan and Japan. I don't remember. But then they basically worked on, they're like, work on making yourselves happy. Then they checked back in with both groups, and, like, the ones in America were sad again, and then the ones in Asia were happy. And it was because there's this thing, like, they theorized where, like, if you tell people to go work on being happy here, it's all about, like, okay, I'll go to the spa and, like, I'll get myself, like, a nice, I'll buy myself a nice new jacket. And
spoiling yourself.
Yeah. And then that stuff wears off. But then there it was, like, people think about, okay, well, in order for me to be happy, I'm going to make sure everything around me is, like, happy. So they'll, like, make connections and
In
they'll
Asia?
compliment somebody else. Yeah, that's what, like, I guess there's
Yeah.
more of the community, or more of the, like, we're
The
all,
group
I'm part
before
of a
the
group.
I.
Yeah, exactly. This is,
Yeah.
like, very individualistic. Like, we're all like, how can I be happy and I be better, and, like, this and that. So I don't know. It was
it's
interesting.
because, like, the marketing machine here is so humongous.
Sure.
Right? And so we're being sold on every commercial and billboard, buying this watch will make you happy. And it's like, is it going to make you happy, or are you just going to waste $500 on a fucking new watch?
Right. They're like, this will make you this successful, and then that'll make you happy.
And then
you
once
get
you're
there.
bombarded with these billboards and these magazine ads and these commercials, like, it's really, like, they are really effective
Oh, totally.
at making us miserable.
yeah.
You know, because
wanna buy that
if you
next
can't
thing.
afford all that and you can't buy all that, and then these magazines, like when I first started reading Glamour magazine when I was in high school, I was like, man, this is marketed for rich women. Why is it like every outfit that if you wanted to
designer.
buy it,
Yeah.
it's designer, and you can't even find it at your local JCPenney,
No, yeah.
right? And
you have to
it's not
go
even
to
accessible to the average
too.
consumer.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, Prada, $1,200 for this shirt, and you're just like, like,
Because is it like the interviews where then the celebrities dress up in the things and then they like list? Because I see that online now. I never read magazines when I was younger, but I think like
that's where I got my confidence. Glamour magazine.
perfect. Well,
No, really, because there would be all these articles about like your self-esteem.
okay.
Right? And especially for women, it was targeted for, female readers. And so it would, there's all these articles about building your self-esteem, how to be confident, and all this stuff. And like that kind of shaped me as an American teenager, like of being like, yeah, I am my own person. I have my own talents. I have, I kind of like broke away from the church with the help of Glamour.
Well, thank you, Glamour. But
You know?
then they got you with the Prada.
I should write articles for Glamour now.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. I mean, but all the clothing shit like that. But the designer stuff being like, oh, and then here's, but also you might need the shirt. Like that's kind of counter.
Yeah, I know. It is counter because you're just like, okay, I just read this great article about how to like be confident, and then now I'm flipping the page and there's all this like expensive products that I can't afford.
Right.
Right?
Well, I remember when I was, because the first time I actually really looked at one of those magazines was college or something. Like, it's so weird that it took me, I don't know, I guess I would flip through them, but I would look at the covers. I think somebody gave me one that happened to have, like, Amy Schumer on the front or something. So they're like, oh, you're a comedian. Like, maybe you'll like this magazine. I don't know what that was. But it was a thick-ass one. Like, I don't remember what. Maybe it was Glamour or one of those W or one of those thick ones. And it had so many ads that are full page, and they're either perfume or they're clothing or all designer. But it's, like, the same 5 models. Yeah. So it's, like, always Jenner, fucking
Caitlyn Jenner?
Not Caitlyn Jenner, but the daughter.
Kendall
Kendall Jenner. It's always Cara Delevingne. It was like 5 models on repeat throughout. So it's like, okay, and they're obviously all like beautiful.
Right.
But then So then to me, I was like, okay, so yeah, if I was reading that as a kid, I would be, like, obsessed because it's just celebrities. But then also, like, how do you even look like that? Not possible. It's all airbrushed and it's all photoshopped. We know that now. But hard to block it out now that, like, even if you don't read magazines, you can be on Instagram and you can be all over. So that is...
I have a friend who went to the
individual-based.
Kardashian house to entertain them.
Oh, nice.
And she said, and she said that they weren't perfect looking, and she was really happy about it.
I mean,
She was
I'm
like,
not surprised,
I
right?
left going like, oh my god, they're not like they're obviously very photoshopped,
Sure.
and it's all lighting and
She saw it in person, man.
yeah.
That's crazy. What did she have to do for them?
She had to dress up in a costume, and like, it was for the kids, you know, for their kids.
Oh, for the little kids.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was
It was
like
like a
picturing
kids party.
just like all the like keeping up with the Kardashians, just like lying on a couch being like, entertain us.
No, it was just for the kids. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. But I mean, yeah, interesting. Magazines, confidence and non-confidence. I guess that's what
Yeah,
people
it is funny that they are. It's like bittersweet, you know, because the content, the articles were actually really great.
I think because they learned what they were doing probably, and they're like, okay, we got to throw in some stuff that's going to be redeeming here.
Yeah.
Which is like the how to, you know.
But I just randomly picked Glamour for some reason, and then it just always, you know,
That
I
was
just
like
always
your
liked it. It's a great magazine. Yeah.
Glamour Mag, everybody. But yeah, and then any other parting advice or advice that you've received recently that you liked?
On staying positive.
Sure, or anything.
Um.
Or general life, career, love, happiness.
Yeah. I guess just staying in touch with people, you know, because with social media nowadays, it's so easy to just stare at our phones all day.
Yeah.
Right? And just snoop on what everybody's doing on Instagram and Twitter and feel like everybody's doing better than me. Oh, wow. Look at all these great pictures of everybody on yachts, on vacation, and doing humongous theater shows. And it could really, you know, be detrimental to our mental health. And I think in order to, like, get out of that funk is to just, like, ignore your fucking phone, like, as hard as that is to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the cause of a lot of
place.
stress for people nowadays. And that's, like, something new that didn't exist 20 years ago.
Totally.
You know, like 20 years ago, we were just hanging out like real humans.
Yeah, and like hanging out,
and
knowing
I'm
your
guilty
small
of
circle.
it too. You know, like I look at my phone and like, wow, I feel like everybody's doing better than me.
Totally.
But it just that can just drive you crazy. And
Oh,
so I think just, you know, like diving back into the community and just staying connected with people and having real conversations, because it's like why don't you like look on your Instagram and call somebody who posted a great picture and then talk to them and be like, how are you doing? You know?
Right,
And then you get the real scoop. You're like, oh, I just had a miscarriage and my life is horrible. And it's like, oh, I'm doing way better than they are.
Thanks, bye, good talk. Thanks for clearing that up.
You know
for
what I
me.
mean? Because of course we're putting out our best on Instagram and not showing our, you know, worst. And we all have our downs. So I think just, you know, not spending 24/7 on Instagram is helpful. Right?
It's hard not to, but yeah, I agree. Because I think I also use it as a substitute for a social interaction. Because I kind of feel like, oh, I've kept up with that person, but it's like, actually, I haven't seen them in forever.
Like, I wrote a comment.
But because,
like, that's
yeah.
being in touch, but it's like, it's not a real human interaction.
No.
You know?
It's really like
we as humans, like, we
and-
need to, like, talk to people. I know that sounds gay, but
No, I mean, it's...
I've turned gay since I moved to LA. It's really done a number on me.
Well, here we are then. But yeah, I see. Yeah, because I think sometimes I am a social person, but like it makes it hard to be when we're in a city that's a little spread out and things like that, that I'm not like going into an office every day, stuff like that. But then I kind of am on social media, and I think what I'm doing by opening each of those apps is being like, oh, socializing.
Right.
My brain's
I know.
like, oh,
it's
this is me socializing.
It's such a
and I'm not.
misnomer.
Oh, totally.
What is that word?
Misnomer.
Misnomer. They call it social media, but it's really anti-social
Super
media.
antisocial. Yeah.
Right? It's so antisocial. Like they say millennials nowadays, like the biggest threat to their lives is suicide. And that's because of social media.
Ugh, that's, yeah,
You know?
pretty much.
Like back in our day, the only ones who were suicidal were, you know, the ones who really had to
Oh,
be.
okay, yeah. Yeah,
But
now
now
it's like a
it's
wider
it's so depressing.
Yikes.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you can just get into your head so much easier, and it's a lot harder to break out, or it's a lot harder to tell the difference between socializing and anti-socializing.
Yeah.
But
I think
we're becoming more aware
helpful
now.
to like make phone calls, for
Sure,
instance. You
talking
know?
to somebody
rather than just texting. It's like you could text all day long and not really be connected to somebody.
Yeah, I
Whereas
hate
like
texting
talking on the
sometimes.
phone is like more real. At
Okay.
least you know if you're working from home or whatever, just take a break to like make a phone call, right?
Yeah. Do you like cold call people a lot?
You know, I do cold call people. Yeah.
Cool. No, I want to try to do that. I think
I want to try.
I want to try to do that someday. You know what I mean?
Like you
I
act like
too, sir,
you've never
people?
just called somebody.
I mean, to be honest, it's a lot of pressure because you feel like you have to set up a time, and if people, you know,
Fuck
everybody
that.
has that joke where they're like,
Fuck that.
"Oh my god, did my house burn down? Why are you calling?" You're like, "Oh, I just wanted to talk," and they're like, "Oh my god, just fucking text me." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you're
I do
part
get
of a
I do
different
get
generation.
wigged out. I do get wigged out when people call me, but I shouldn't.
Man, I mean,
But yeah, you know what I mean? Because there's always
Yeah.
like, oh, well, if you want to text, like, I mean, if you want to call, do you want to do like Friday at 10 a.m.? Yeah, let me check my schedule. Okay.
see, I find that
Yeah.
more stressful.
It's so
I'd
fucking
rather,
stressful.
and it's like if I call my friend and they're not able to answer the phone, no big deal.
No big deal, right?
You know, like
That's how
they'll
it should
just
be.
call me when they
See
call
my missed
me.
call. That's what caller ID is
Because
for or
it's so
whatever.
stressful. Like you feel like you're not allowed to call people. And it's like you
Does
don't have
feel
to
that way.
set up an appointment. Like, what is this? Your pap smear? You know, like you got to
Pap
make an
smear?
appointment with your friend to talk to them.
You're right. It's not
like
a fucking pap smear.
we're in jail,
I know.
right?
It's a jail pap smear.
I cold call people all day long, motherfucker.
Okay, good. I'm gonna start doing that.
Yeah,
You're
and
right.
if
And
if
then
they're
you
in the middle of
establish that
something,
relationship with
if
them.
they're in the middle of something, no biggie. Like it's kind of cool. Like to after you've done doing a podcast, you look at your phone. Oh, I had a missed call from my friend.
Yeah, oh,
right.
let me see
like,
what's
oh,
up.
cool.
You're
You
right.
know,
Makes
'Cause
it
that's
important.
That's the worst when like you just got done like getting off an airplane or doing a podcast and like nobody called you and
Yeah,
you're like, oh man,
yeah.
that was like 5 hours. Right?
Like, ooh, I better turn my phone back on. I'm sure. I hope nobody was trying to reach me. And you're like, oh, actually, I did hope somebody was trying to reach me, but okay.
Right?
That's true. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna establish that. I'm gonna establish that friendship with a lot of people,
Yeah.
so that it's not weird anymore. You know.
I think your
I'm gonna call you
your
all the time.
generation.
I hope you know.
Well,
that's
don't
what
call
this
me,
means.
but your other friends. But like
Your
I
real
think,
friends.
I think your generation
Uh-huh.
is afraid to make cold calls.
Oh, totally. We're fucking.
God, like
the whole calling your
used to have-
senator thing, people are
we
freaked
used
out.
to like call people without even caller ID. Like I remember when caller ID came out, and it was like,
Landline stuff.
whoa,
Yeah.
we know you're calling now. It was crazy
Right.
when caller ID came out because we would just answer the phone no matter who it was. Imagine that. Not knowing who's calling and you're just answering the phone. Isn't that such a crazy world?
Right. That's some throwback shit right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow. Okay, revolutionizing. It's gonna happen.
I mean, I don't know. It might not work on people your age. They might be like,
Now you're
"Fuck
backtracking.
is Sierra calling me for?" Like,
Dude, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna
you
start
know,
calling
like,
everybody.
does she need a ride to the hospital?
Right. That's what
Th-
it's
that's
gonna
what they're
be the
gonna
first
think.
time around. They're gonna be like, "Oh my God, are you okay? What? Who died?"
And then they're gonna be like, "What do you want?" Like as if like you could only call if you want something.
Sure.
And you're like, sometimes I'm just calling just to say hi.
I'm gonna start FaceTiming some people.
Or you
I'm
know,
gonna catch 'em
my
real off
friends
guard.
when I actually call them, at the end of the phone call, they're usually like, "Thanks for calling me,"
Oh,
or "Thanks for picking up,"
right.
because guess what? They're lonely too. You know, they're not living their best life as they
no.
portray on Instagram either.
Right.
Right?
Fair enough. Yeah. We could all save each other with just one phone call.
Yes.
the
Make a phone
the cost
call
of a
now.
cup of coffee.
Yes.
Amazing.
Just turn into a telethon.
What a takeaway. It is a Yeah, it's just us calling all
Yeah,
our
don't be
friends, but
afraid to
not for
cold
money.
call people.
All right. It's going to happen.
You know, you could
creating
actually
a monster,
because you
Esther.
do have a lot of people's phone numbers, I'm sure, that you text with
Right.
a lot,
Yeah.
right?
So just those people.
Yeah.
Dope. It's going to happen.
Yeah. These chairs are a little squeaky. You could hear
I know.
'em, right?
I don't know what to do about that because I always try to like tighten the screws, but
WD-40?
it's all done. I think I have that.
I don't know. Maybe.
But wonderful way to end. Okay, thank you so much for doing the podcast, Esther.
Thanks for having
Anything
me.
you want to plug?
My podcast is called Coup and the Gang, and people can
It's
listen
great.
to you
Ooh,
on my
yes.
podcast. So download that and just go to my website, esthercoup.com, for show dates and videos.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.